Hello from Strike City Studios, inside the world famous Lightning Strikes. I'm Tom Malode, and I'm with the bowling legend Larry Lichting, and we're going to discuss Week 2 results. Another exciting week in the Oak Farm Premier League.
It was fantastic watching Week 2. The bowlers a little more acclimated to the condition. Obviously, the first week you might have little jitters. Maybe you might be bowling with a new teammate or a new team in itself. But by Week 2, it seemed to settle down a little bit. We had some great scores, a lot of movement in the standings, and very exciting. Of course, on 27 and 8, the pair we televised, we had several real good scores, but yet they didn't win because of the 90% of 235 situation. So we're going to be explaining all of that as we get into each team's matches from this past Tuesday night.
Yeah, they should have struck a little more on lane 27-28. Also, we had a new team come out of the pack to take over the lead of the league. New leader in the clubhouse this week.
New leader in the clubhouse, House Brown's team. And House had 300 here on opening night in another league, so obviously he's got the house wired pretty good. He's exciting. He's a good bowler. Interesting because, again, the teams that are up there aren't the big gun teams. They're more balanced teams, more handicapped in a lot of ways. But you still got to bowl good. You still got to knock them dead. We had a couple situations last week. At least one game I know of for sure where a bowler had 277 and 36 pins handicap. So he got a 313. It's the first time I've ever seen a 313 in my life.
Never bowled 313.
Me neither. I only bowled it for 2.
House Brown's team's all Navy guys.
All Navy guys for House Brown. I did not know that. Interesting.
Team Navy.
They might have a psychological advantage there.
Ready to jump into Week 1?
I'm ready to go. Let's do it.
All right. First match.
Okay, Wayne Toplin's team. Wayne was 664. John Att right behind him, 663. And Robert Hilton, 657. Very good team. Great scratch, 11 and 13. Again, the handicap might have got him. You look at the other side, Lassick, Aldridge, Billy, and Lamar, only a 11600, a 509, and a 507, yet they took 13 points. And year to date, they have a very good record. They're 29 and 19. Wayne Toplin's team 30 and a half and 17 and a half. Very interesting when you see the high scores on one side and the much lower scores on the other. But again, like I've been saying all along, 90% of 235 does even it out.
Wayne bowled well. He had that open frame that struck out for 279.
Wayne's bowled very well in the league. His first 6 games, he's right at 1350, so that's where you want to be, right at a 230 average or pretty close, 225. And Wayne's pretty straight up and at him. He can play the hold area. He doesn't really swing the ball a lot. He's not going to get in trouble really hitting the dry too early. He's definitely playing farther left than a lot of players. Just going like 15 to 12, 15 to 13. He's got end over end roll, so he's really lined up quite well for the pattern.
Absolutely. John Att bowled well. He had a big string of strikes there for a while.
John Att can bowl. John Att's a strong man, can go, likes to go around. Had the ball holding, was playing a little fallback, was deeper than most players on the pairs when I watched him. But again, 2 good teams. One a good handicap team, one a better scratch team, and again, they evened it out pretty much at 13 and 11.
Yeah, Wayne had scores of 179, 279, 206 for 664. Big John Att shot 197, 244, 222 for 663, and Robert Hilton struggled the first game on 189, 223, 245 for 657.
Well, interesting, Doug Lozen on the team. If you look at their handicap, they had a heck of a total. They were well above 2,700, I believe. So right off the bat, that seems to be a number you're really going to need. Yet they only won 11 points. So very interesting how the handicap changed that around real quick.
Yeah, because Justin Aldridge, 158 average, shot 204, 200, 156 for 560, 767 handicap. That's tough to beat. He beat John Att. John Att at 720 with handicap. So Dwayne Billy, this team 6 will be on our TV pair next week. Dwayne Billy bowled well, 221, 216, 224 for 661 and 763 handicap. Those are tough to beat, those scores.
Tough to beat those scores. 763, very tough to beat.
Yeah, I'm excited to see them on a TV pair next week.
Well, we're going to find out. As time goes on, we're going to really start to see what's happening here. Like the team that was in first place last week, Larry Lipman's team went from 1st to 10th, obviously a bad night.
A lot of points this week.
And teams that bowl very well but don't have a lot of handicap keep getting beat, so it's interesting.
That's why I like the 24-point system, because teams jump around pretty quickly.
they're going to jump around quickly. I have a feeling that there isn't going to be any real team taking the lead week after week after week for a while now until it settles. I can see them jumping around, literally a new leader every week.
Absolutely, hope so. See that. All right, match 2.
This was the match we had on our pair last week, and if you'll notice, again, 13 and 11, 664, 665, 614 for Team 5. Team 8, 3 6s and a 7, yet they lost points. They really bowled well as a team. And again, 15 and a half and 32 and a half is not the start Team 8 really wanted. 3 really good bowlers on that team with Mike Schumacher, Mac Rizzo, and Mark Pulaski. And Dustin Clark really bowled well last week, had some bad breaks. But right now, it looks like the scratch scores aren't really giving teams the wins that they thought they'd get.
Yeah, they thought an easy pushover team.
Yes, that's where the parity comes in the league. You know, we've got 24 teams. You think of Ricky Ward and Dave Stouffer and Lee Rathjen and Mike Alshar, yet they're getting beat, even though Stouffer's averaging 250. And they're getting beat because of the handicap system.
Yep. Also, some big on the scores on that. Jim Shirk had 277 the first game, 178 the second game, the Century Club. 210 for 665.
Jim Shirk had 313 the second game.
Yep.
277 with 36 pins handicap. I watched. He throws really throws the ball good right up the dry boards. Doesn't have a lot of tilt. He's using a lot of surface. So the ball revved up the mid lane, and when it came off the oil, it really didn't jump to the nose, which you'd think a lot of resin balls would do. But his ball sort of burned up. But because he had outside angle and end over end roll, he still had the right angle of entry. Bowled very well. Very well. I was impressed with his bowling.
His leadoff bowler, 188, beat Matt Rizzo a point, 246, 210 for 644, 725.
And he played again very similar to Shirk. He played outside, going up the 3-4 board.
Bob the Guyver had a big game, 246 the second game. And Chris Hubach is pretty solid as always, 182, 211, 221.
Chris Hubach throws a truck. He has a unique approach. He slides at least 2 feet from the foul line, which is very interesting. But he gets it over the foul line. So he's literally spotting 2 feet to the foul line with his loft, but he's 4 feet over the foul line. So he's lofting the ball 6 feet. But because he's sliding so far back, he's still hitting the heads at the right spot. I think in this house, you want the ball laying about 4 feet over the foul line for an optimum ball reaction. But he was standing so far back on the approach that he was lofting the ball 6 feet to have it laying 4 feet. Most of you can understand that.
Absolutely. All right. Team 8 Diamond Security. Matt Rizzo shot 198, 227, 226, 651 for 672. Dustin Clark, every time I saw him, he had a ring 10 somewhere. 186, 189, and he shoots 243 for 618. Mark Jr. 238, 202, 268 for the 708. And Mike Schumacher, his doubles partner, shot 257, 211, 188 for 656.
Great bowling as a team, but they lost points.
They did.
So there you go.
That's pretty exciting. All right.
It is exciting.
We're going to match 3 here. They're
in trouble. Right now, Team 3 has really gotten out of the box. Bad. Daniel with 604 last week, not good. Billy Seymour struggling. And of course, on the other side, with Durkin, Zielinski, Kahn, and Rucker, they bowled great. They're 36 and 12, leading the league after 2 weeks, off to a great start. Mike Durkin, they're in third, excuse me. Mike Durkin coming out of retirement, hadn't bowled in a while. And of course, Chuck Rucker and Reggie Kahn, really good bowling by that team.
Yeah, Reggie Kahn really stepped up this week, 679, 703. He had games of 216, 206, and the big 257 game 3.
Fantastic. They're in great position after 2 weeks. Anytime you get out of the chute like that, now you start to think win. They know they can win. They know they can beat the league. They're a very balanced team. There really isn't a superstar, and there really isn't a low average bowler. So, of course, the team being led by Chuck Rucker, but right now that team's extremely balanced and extremely tough.
It's going to be tough. Looks like Caceres still struggling in game 3. He shot 183. First game shows 202, 219, and a 203 for 604.
Yeah, he's struggling. Right now, I'm waiting for him to explode. I'm waiting for a 780. It's like we're all waiting, but
it's gonna happen.
Right now they're in trouble, and that team needs him to carry them. So I would say he's got to get on the giddy up pretty quick here and start to get them loose. If he starts striking, his team will bowl better. It'll take the pressure off.
It makes it more fun. Makes you loosen you up when your guy's striking next to you.
That's correct.
All right. Match number 4 is the Billy Morgan, Dennis Beagle. Dennis Beagle went nuts.
Dennis Beagle's a great bowler. I think he slowed down a little bit. I started hooking the ball a little more, and there it is, 772. Andy Cox, 682. Billy Morgan a little better than last week, but I'm sure he's only going to get better. He averaged pretty close to 230 last year at Beacon. And Dan Richter, 620. So that team bowled well over 2,700, didn't he?
26. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, 29-34.
29-34. A lot of handicap. They're 27-20. A good week for them, taking 21.5 points. And our owners team, Robert Eddy with Scott Cobb, actually and John Rukoski shooting 705, but they had a terrible week. Right now they're in 18th place. And, well, the old saying, they got nowhere to go but up.
Yep, absolutely. John didn't struggle the first game, boy, but, man, he put it together next two. Rukoski went 268, 257 the next two.
Well, Rukoski's figuring the house out. I think he knows what to do now. It took him a little while. Obviously, I think he was overhooking the ball in week 1 and probably the start of week 2. He said he went straighter and weaker, went up the back of the ball, went to the right instead of looking left again. He went back outside, and all of a sudden 520 the last two. So he could be a factor from that angle. I think that's his comfort zone anyways. But the first week he was using such a dull ball that was so strong he couldn't stay outside. It just looked too much.
Yeah, Rukoski ran into Dennis Beagle, who had games of 268, 248, 256 for 772, 853 with handicap.
Yeah, 853 with handicap. I never had 853 for 4 games with handicap.
Not even Rukoski can catch that. Beagle looked great.
Beagle's great. Beagle throws the ball great. So does his wife. I watched his wife bowl the last 3 Thursdays. Megan can bowl. Megan shot 667-20 the first 2 weeks in our ladies league on Thursday night. Hadn't bowled in 3 years.
Yeah, the ladies Premier League.
Come out of the box, shot 1380 the first 6. She can bowl.
We got checks ready for her. If she shoots 300, she'll be $1,000. If she shoots 800, $2,000. We're gonna pay her.
I'd love to see Megan make the money.
So would Dennis.
So would Dennis. That's nice when your wife carries you and you're a bowler, boy.
Right.
When the wife brings home a bigger check than you, it's a wonderful thing.
I heard that when Megan got home last week, she told Dennis how to play the lane, so he shot 770.
Well, wives can coach husbands, and they better listen. Let's put it that way.
True story. All right. The next, my man James Oswald team.
Well, James Oswald put on a show in our money match after the league.
Sure
Bowled
did.
Fantastic. Tim Sipper subbing, 2-hander, 658. Oswald with 613. And Jerry, how do you say that name?
I can't say
Jerry M, 681. And Mark Pulaski Sr., 613. On the other side, Rathjen, Ward struggling with 583. Alshire coming on with 680. And, of course, Dave Stouffer the last 2 weeks has lit him up with 766, 760 out of the chute. Was bowling with a big bandage on his pinky. Hurt his pinky finger, ripped it up pretty good, but it didn't stop him. But again, let's put that back up. I want to take a look at the points and see where they were with points for the week. So they took 7.5, and if you look, they've got a 680 and a 760. That's 240 over, 1440 for 6, and they can't win any points. When you look at handicap on the other side, 720 against Alshire, 709 against Ricky, and 694 against Rathjen. So there's the best scratch team in the league in 14th place. They're struggling, but again, it's a long season, and we'll just have to let it play out.
Yeah, Jerry had the front 9. Yeah, the front 9.
Jerry did?
Yeah, game 1 shot 277. And then Mr. Stouffer last game, had the front 9,
yeah,
shot 278.
What did he leave? What did he leave in the 10th?
I think it was the 4-pin.
Left the 4-pin. He's throwing that pink hammer with flame, throwing it about 22 miles an hour right up the drive, about 6-7.
Blowing
just
racks.
piping it.
Yep.
Those pins are dancing.
Mechanic said the pins are destroyed when they come in the next day. They had to change them out.
The destroyer, Dave Stouffer, the man who beat Norm Duke.
He did. All right, next match, JJ Feather's team. They showed up.
Well, look at Dennis Rieger and Josh Brown and Rob Thor and JJ Feather. Look at the score: 614, 622, 612, 612.
That's right.
10 pins difference in the 4 men in their 3-game series. And look at their handicap. Amazing. 614, 722, 622, 718, 612, 723, 612, 720. Unbelievable balance, 32 and 16, right where they want to be after 2 weeks. And they really drilled the other team, who just couldn't get out of the way. Obviously, they're struggling with low 400s, and obviously They're still in 13th. I mean, they're 21st place after 2 weeks. Obviously, they're going to struggle a little bit. They've got a lot of handicap, but just not enough with those scores.
Yeah, JJ Feathers team's now in 5th. They made a big jump, big move this week. Also, the Giant killer Corey Brown, he got their lone 2 points. He's the guy that swept Alshire last week.
Is he the one that swept Alshire? I didn't know that.
He is.
Corey Brown. Can you imagine beating a man that led the nation 3 years ago and averaged 3 years later in a handicap league? But that's, again, 90% at 235. You got a low average, shoot 620, 630, you're going to beat a lot of people.
Absolutely.
The 490s aren't going to cut it. That's obvious by looking at their scores. But it's a long season. They might have to come in and do a little practicing, a little team bowling on a Sunday or Monday, just to try and see if they can line up off of one another. Try to look around, see who's playing good from what angles, and then try to learn those angles if you're not good at it. You might have to come in and practice a little. Obviously now, after 6 games of the league, if you're buried near the bottom, the team might have to make a decision and say, you know what, we might have to go in, we might have to practice, we might have to learn a little transition, maybe bowl 3 games as a team, try and figure out the condition, because that's what they're missing.
Yeah, JJ Bowl gained 213, 232, then they had the 167 come up and bite for 612.
Yeah.
And Rieger, 173, 219, 222, and Josh Brown, 235, 207, 180, and Rob Thor was 178, 178, then shoots 256 to take total.
Wow.
Yeah, that always helps when you can shoot a big game and jump and grab total split with the guy. All right, this is a crazy one.
This is interesting here when you look at 19 and 5 in 4th place, 33 and 15. Again, 3 real good series with some real good handicap added. 665 for Eisenberg and 645 for Holloman, who ends up with 768 with handicap, and Rich 663, 696. That team's on a roll. Obviously now they've got some confidence. They're a lesser known team, but now they're letting their bowling balls do their talking. They're in 4th place with 33 points, and right now after 2 weeks, that's a heck of a start. Obviously the team they bowled against struggled. Danny Hyam really bowled bad after coming out of the box last week with 716 or 726, shot 468. I'm sure he's disappointed. I think Danny needs some new equipment personally. He's using balls that are 10, 12, 14 years old. They're probably also not reading the pattern properly. He might have to do a little work on his game. But we got a long season. Bobby Taylor, 2 weeks in a row, bowling great. Last week, 702, 688 this week. So Bobby's carrying the team. He needs a little help from the teammates. Again, they might have to look at some equipment. Who's bowling bad on what angles, try and figure out why they're not bowling well. They might have to come in and do a little practicing.
Bobby Taylor's averaged 230 after the first 2 weeks.
It's a heck of a start. I never averaged 230.
Yeah, so they said. That's what they say, wherever they are.
I never averaged 230.
Well, so, yeah, Chris Ritchie, he impressed me very much. The righties stayed a little bit, toward near the gutter a little bit of loft.
Yeah.
They had some big games in last week and then this week, too. Kevin Day struggled a little bit. He shot 675 last week. And Jared Eisenberg, the guy from Breaking Bad, love this guy. He shot 665. He's a big lefty, so yeah, he's very impressive also. So yeah, there's a lot of players that are ready to break out.
Well, again, it's a long season. Obviously, the lower place teams now have to understand they're obviously playing the lanes wrong, and even though they might not have the skill level of some of the better bowlers, if they can turn them 490s into 560s, they can turn everything right around in one night.
Exactly.
And that's the key. So they're only 60, 70 pins away, which could be spare shooting. If I were them, I'd be looking at how many 1-pinners they missed, how many 2-pinners they missed, and add them up together. Look at the team score sheet, and if they missed 15 1 or 2-pin combinations, which is 180 pins or so, spread them out over 3 games, add them to each game, and see where the team would have been if they made them. They might have to practice their spares because obviously they're not striking a lot, and that's the difference in bowling.
The good news this week is that, in my experience, I bowled this league for a lot of years, is that you can go on a hot streak, 3 or 4 week hot streak, and you can go from like last to first because there's so many points out there.
Well, you can, but you have to work at it. Right now, there's a problem with that team, and they know it. If you're all in the 490s, you've got to start figuring out why. The first thing you have to do is analyze your easy misses, not splits. Nobody makes splits. Everybody leaves them. Nobody makes them. But 1 and 2 pinners you're supposed to make. Even if you're a lower average bowler, maybe you're playing the lanes wrong, maybe you're using resin instead of plastic, maybe you need to come in on a Sunday, start practicing the 10-pin, the 610, the 3-6-10, the 2-4-5, the common leaves, the double wood, the 2-8. Start to work on your game for spares, and ask yourself, if you made 6 more spares last week, each of you, where would your team be? And if you would have won, that's your answer.
All right, then next match we'll talk about is the Mike Smith against Devon Sweeney's team.
Well, Mike Smith got out of the box last week, 762, a bad week for him at 603. Obviously, Craig Streetsel struggling horribly with 524, a much better bowler than that score indicates. So that team struggled literally right from the start. On the other side, Chris James holding his own, a lot of handicap, so they got 16 points because 2 lower scores with Chris James and Blake Barnard got some handicap, and of course George Gradado 629, and Davion Swiner, who's bowling very good this season, 645 with 696. So right now they're in 10th place, 25 and 23, but they're in striking distance. They're right in the middle of the pack, 2014 lead. I think the first 12 teams could juggle within a week, you know, with a 20 and 5, a 22 and 2, and all of a sudden go from 12th to 13th to 2nd or 3rd or 4th. So they're a week away from possibly making a big move.
Yeah, Damon could have a real big week. He went 260. He went 235. Then he goes 169, 241. That middle game killed him.
That middle game. The middle game seems to be tough for a lot of people. The transition off the fresh is radical. Then they tone down again, and then you get your feet and eyes right by the end of the game, but you might have 3 opens in it. Finally, by the end of the game, you have your lined up again for game 3. And that's basically what we said last week. We're running into it again. The transition of game 2 seems to be the mystery of the league after 6 games. The teams that figure it out and that are prepared for it, knowing it's coming, might have to have a play it safe plan, where obviously they might have to throw it harder, straighter, move right, play for 9 until the transition ends. In other words, not hook the ball so much, get a weaker ball, throw it straighter, where it doesn't overreact in the front end and in the back end of the lane. Wait for it to tone down and go to a more aggressive ball. After they tone down, maybe there's a little carry down issue. But these are the things they're going to have to learn. They're going to have to think about it and understand why they're bowling bad and understand why they're bowling good. That's the nature of team bowling, regardless of handicap or scratch. You've got to discuss it with each other and look for the weaknesses.
All right, the next match was Bobby Hamilton's team put the hammer on Team 22.
Hamilton's team in 2nd place, coming out of Coral.
The young guys.
Tyler Floyd. All these guys bowl together as kids. Robbie Hamilton throws the ball great, except for John Pfister, the father of the team, who in my opinion has a book game. Well, wait till we get him on camera and I diagnose his game. His game is fantastic. Very consistent. 597 low, 658 high. Got some real good handicap. Obviously, they're in good shape right now. With a 20-4 win after last week. They're in 2nd place. And the team they bowled against, unfortunately, with John Bercier, struggled again. Preston Willis, Mark Janaski, and Tony Karmansik just not bowling well again. What I would suggest all the teams that have not bowled well for 2 weeks is get a frame of score sheet of your bowling and work on your spare shooting. That's the key when you're a lower average bowler, is making the easy spares.
Yep. The young guns, Bobby shot 213, 258, and then finished up at 187.
Yeah.
In the big series. Pfister shot 178, low game 224, 236.
Yeah, came back.
And Tchaikovsky shot 204, 224, 235.
Scott's a lefty, and he can hook the lane. Interesting. 3 riders and a lefty. That's pretty good. I think the balance of the league, and if you look at Dennis Beagle shooting 780, and the super team has Ricky Ward on and 1 lefty. I like 3 righties and 1 lefty, and I like a good lefty. I like a lefty that can strike, not a handicapped lefty. More one with lower handicap, but that can shoot higher score to keep the team loose by maybe averaging 220 instead of 175, and it sort of makes the other guys think a little different when your teammates striking.
And Tyler went 247, 213, and shot 137.
Whoa.
Ouch.
Obviously a loss of concentration there, probably got a little flustered, started off with 2-3 opens, didn't know what to do. All of a sudden you miss an easy spare 2, you got 5 opens and 9 frames, and there's your $130.
Yep.
It's really easy to do. A couple of bad shots, you get a little flustered, next thing you know you're fighting it.
All right, the new 1st place team, the House Browns team.
House Brown, 673, still striking, throwing rockets, 500 revs off the corner. He can power it up. This is an all-Navy team.
All Navy.
With the veteran Jay Rucker, my dear friend, who is a veteran, one of the proprietors here, has been a great bowler in Fort Myers for well over 30 years. And Greg Lindsay bowling well this week, coming out and bowling a lot better after a slow start. Jerry Lake 640, Greg Lindsay 650, and Chris P with a 585, a little better than last week, but they got drilled. So obviously, let's put that up again. I want to just check something here and just check the handicap situation with the team.
Match 10?
Yeah, with Chris P. If you'll notice, the handicap, you got a 704 with Lindsay, but look where they lost with House Brown with 673, 772, and Clay McCollum 613, 730. That's where they got beat. So Lindsay loses total with a 704. House Brown takes it with 772, carried the team, and right now that's a tough team. The All Navy team, I like that. I like a veteran team.
Yeah, Clay and Greg had a great match at the third game where Greg Lindsay shoots 268 scratch and loses.
Greg Lindsay with handicap 284, and the bowler he was bowling 286.
Yeah, shot 247, Clay did.
284 with a lose. Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
I mean, he struggled all night, and then he finally put it together, and then he still.
I'm waiting for the game where we have, I don't know if it's historic. I want to see somebody lose with a one-game total of over 300.
312 and 350.
You know, 313 to 302, and
right.
That'll prove a point that 90% of 235 can obviously come up with some strange numbers and strange losses and strange wins.
All right. The next match was Gary Seitz' team versus Michael Boyd's team.
Now Gary Seitz' team 19-5, father and son bowl. Gary 589 steady, and Ray Stevens bowled great 672, carrying the team with 747. They're in 6th place, 32 and 16. Great start for that team, and the team with Danny Wilson and Mark Pfeiffer and Michael Boyd struggling all in the middle 500s. Obviously, that team has to really take a good look at their 8.5 points and decide why they're not bowling well. And again, I don't think that anytime you get out of the chute that bad, you should take it with complacency. I believe the team should come in and practice and have some moves planned for the next time they bowl. Maybe even coming in, bowling on the same pair they're scheduled on 2-3 days before in the afternoon or in the evening or on a Saturday, just to get an idea what the pair's doing. Even though it might be a little different, it's still the house shot. They can get an idea of breakdown and how to play it, especially if it is not on the fresh, and see what a non-fresh condition is doing for them. They've got to learn why they are bowling bad. They've got to look at their numbers.
Yep, Gary Seitz' team jumped up to 6th place. Ray Stevens went games of 253, 229, and 190.
Great bowling for Ray, and with the handicap, Ray's very improved. Ray likes to loft the ball a lot. I had worked with him. He tried to change it and take away the loft. He seems to have gone back to it. It seems to fit his game. Probably lofts the ball more than anybody in the league. 10 to 12 feet over the foul line is definitely not recommended. On the other hand, he's good at it. He's learning how to do it better than he did a year ago. So you shoot 675, you know, they don't fall by themselves. You have to be doing something right.
All right, the last match of the night was our friend Roy Parris, I'm sorry.
Roy Parris is amazing. Roy Parris bowls every day in his bowling center at 5 p.m. in his late 70s. It's a beautiful game. I can't wait to get him on camera and diagnose his game. 728. Match Hodgman's right before him with 494. But if you'll notice, Dick Herglund shoots 484, but he gets a 600 with a handicap. 28 and 20, 10th place. They're right where they really want to be. They won 17 points. And they beat Bobby Martin's team and Larry Lippman, who really struggled. The team really struggled with John Apolloni with 515 and Bobby Martin with 525. Bob Koss with 620, 740, which is really a good score with handicap. But they got beat, and now they went from 1st to 12th in 1 week, and that's a shocker. Most of the time you won't see that happen, but of course in a handicap league anything can happen.
Yeah, that match is very deceiving for 17-7. I mean, when you shoot 702, Bobby shot 702, and then Bob 659, Larry Lippman at 680, and Bob Koss at 740. Those are pretty good scores. They beat a lot of other teams.
Those are really good scores. I didn't notice that just now until you said that, but let's see. 13. They got about 2,700 there, and they can't win any points with 2,800. Let's see. Pretty close to 2,800. Within they got about 2,770 and didn't win any points.
Nope.
Unbelievable. 2,770 with 2,400 being par. So they're 370 over and they only took 7 points.
Yeah, Matt Hodgman.
That's actually pretty good bowling.
Yeah, but I was down there watching that match a lot, and Matt Hodgman, the second game, shot 263. He hit a front 8 with the ring 10.
Yeah.
That's my horse.
And then bad count and got 260. Yeah, you were telling me about Hodgman. You said he might be a sleeper.
Thought he had it. And then watching Roy was fantastic. He shot 249, 268, 211. Every time I was down, he had a string of 7 or 8 strikes on a row.
Roy Parris bowls 75 games a week practice in his late 70s. Beautiful fundamental game. I'm so happy for Roy. I saw him today. I told him we're going to start an over 80 senior tour, and I'm going to be betting on him.
Every time. Absolutely. All right, next week on our TV pair is going to be the team of Ron Rickner, Billy Morgan, Andy Cox, Dennis Beagle against Joseph Lessick, Justin Aldridge, Dwayne Billy, and Darren Lamar on there.
Well, I like having a chance to watch Billy Morgan and obviously Dennis Beagle. They're going to put on a show. They're really good bowlers. It's fun calling the pairs, and what I really like is for everybody to tell their friends to tune in. We also have action after the league. We will post it later on, probably Monday or Tuesday. We've got some planned matches. Again, we had it last week. We had over 4,000 viewers last week. So we invite all of you to come and watch. It's exciting. We're going to be adding different graphics, different statistics each week. We're going to have some guests. Maybe it'll be 2 of us in the booth discussing the sport. But a wonderful 2 weeks. Great to be with all of you here in Southwest Florida and around the United States. And it's an honor for me to do this again. I hadn't done it for about 1.5 years. It's a lot of fun, Tom. I love it.
The action match was fantastic. We have good news is that we have a couple more players coming this week to try to get in some of the money.
Yeah, I think Brad Stewart's taking a ride over, the son of Chrissy Stewart and Kevin Stewart, who have been involved in the bowling industry here. Chrissy, a great lady bowler in her life, probably the most premier woman bowler ever to come out of Southwest Florida.
Rookie of the year.
And I've had Brad since junior leagues, and Brad throws the ball great. Brad's very nice and not afraid to put up a little of his own.
Yep, and I heard that for the rest of the year it's going to be Scott Cobb, Oswald versus Ricky Ward and Lee Ratchin for the rest of the season after league bowling.
Scott Cobb and Oswald against Ward and Ratchin again.
Yep.
On Wednesday night. Well, I got to take my nap in the afternoon. This could go to 12:01 in the morning. Last time I spent time in a bowling center after midnight was quite a while ago. But they went last week till 12 o'clock. I think we got off the air around 11, and they kept going.
Of course.
So we're going to try and stay with them as long as we keep our eyes open. But it's exciting to watch. These guys are serious. This is not a put on. They're bowling 1-game events, prize money after each game.
Wink, wink.
And we'll see what happens.
Yeah, a lot of money changed hands last week. A lot of money. Also, on the second pair is going to be Daniel Gacera, so make sure you get that 3rd game figured out next week. You'll be on the
I'll be on the left pair. Well, that's good. We get a chance to watch Daniel again. Again, I keep propping Daniel as somebody that's going to take off. Now, he's both bad 2 weeks in a row, so maybe on the left pair, which I like 25 and 6. I think it's higher scoring than 27 and 8. It seems to hold up a little more on that pair. So he might be on a real good pair for him next week. We'll find out next Wednesday. We start live at 10 minutes to 7. We watch them practice, and then of course at 7 o'clock the lights go on and scoring starts. We will be live streaming to the end of the league, and during the league we'll be telling you about the matches after the league. We'd like all of you to stay with us. There might be a 10 or 15 minute break after the league ends for everybody just to stretch a little bit and get going, but the cameras will be on, the website will be working, and we will just continue to show you some live action.
Give them some time to go to the ATM machine and get some money out.
The ATM machine.
All right.
I love the ATM machine as long as it wasn't my card I was using.
Me too.
Sorry, Tom, I had to say that.
All right, and then they're going against Matt Rizzo, Mark Jr., and Schumacher and Clark again.
Oh, they're going again?
Yeah, they're on the left. Yeah,
they're on the left also.
Yeah, against Sarah.
Matt Rizzo can light them up. Matt Rizzo can shoot 770 in a heartbeat. Obviously, his team can bowl very well. It's just a question of everybody clicking at the same time. Team bowling is so important that there's a chemistry that you have to have. You have to be willing to coach your teammate who isn't bowling well, and he has to be able to receive it, not as you being a critic, but as you being a teammate. And there's a chemistry. And if you could talk it over and work with each other, the team will benefit. The teams that don't communicate aren't going to have much of a chance in this league. At least that's my opinion, based on the fact that I bowled some great teams 50 years ago. We talked about every frame I bowled with Petraglia, McGrath, and Schlegel in the USBC Nationals, and we talked about every ball we threw. And if we did it as pros, you're supposed to do it as amateurs too. There is a way to get it done. You have to communicate.
All right, congratulations on all the big series last week. Dennis Beagle 772.
Dennis Beagle leading the league with 772. Stouffer right behind him with 760.
And Roy Parris 720.
And Roy Parris, the old man of the league.
Right.
I'm so thrilled for Roy. When we diagnose Roy's game, you're going to see a perfect game. He doesn't have a lot of rev rate. Obviously, he's in his high 70s. I think he's 78 or 79 years of age. Probably doesn't want me saying that. But I can tell you this much. The physical game and the shots are robotic. They're the same every shot. He needs some oil in the heads. He needs oil down the lane. He can't overhook the ball. He doesn't like to overswing the heads. Likes to go pretty much straight at him. But you let that ball go along and store a little energy, Roy Parris can bowl.
A lot of strikes in that pair last week. Also, the high gains were Wayne Toplin 279, David Stouffer 278, Jim Shirk 277, and Jerry, I can't say your last name, 277.
Well, we're waiting for the first 300. It's a $1,000 pool. I thought we'd have one already.
Oh, yeah, 3 by now.
But it's going to happen.
Next week.
I hope so. I'm predicting, I know this sounds crazy. What did we predict for the league? Did you say 20?
Over 20.
You said over 20?
They're going to start striking.
Well, after 2 weeks now, that could be an over and under bet.
Yeah.
But I'm figuring a minimum of 10. I'd like to see 20, but right now we haven't seen any. So it's interesting. You know, we thought the scores would be a little higher. I sort of like them where they are. Again, it's only 2 weeks. I do know one thing about this surface in this house. The cooler it gets, the higher the scores will be. In week 1, it was hot, and the lanes broke down a little quicker. It seemed like in week 2, it cooled down a little bit, but as we get into the fall, I'd say by the middle of October, and it's 10 to 15 degrees colder outside. It's going to be 10 degrees colder in this bowling center. I believe that's really going to be a factor. Temperature does control lane conditions. A lot of people don't believe that, but it really does.
All right. Ready for next week?
I'm ready to roll.
All right, we'll see you guys next Wednesday night for the live stream.
Okay, thanks again, everybody, for tuning in. We'll see you Wednesday night, live and in color from Lightning Strikes in Fort Myers, Florida.
Good luck and good bowling.
Good luck and good bowling.